Alright people, review of the week time. So, there was 3 cards on over the weekend. Now, 2 of them I have watched, 1 of them I haven't. So the 2 I have watched was I obviously watched William Zepeda last night. I'll review his fight now in a second. I also watched Alberto Lopez. I know Eddie Hearn put a show on Friday night in Mexico. I completely forgot when I was previewing the cards last week that was actually on until I seen the weigh-ins, and I was like, oh, didn't know that card was on. Before I review the other 2, because I'm not going to review the other Hearn card because I didn't watch it, still haven't watched it, I want to just send my condolences out to Diego Arua, I believe is how you pronounce his name, who is the trainer of Sabrina Perez. She was the opponent of Sky Nicholson on Friday night. He tragically collapsed, I believe it was at the end of the 10th round, and subsequently Mauricio Sullivan confirmed that he passed away. Before we get into any of the cards or anything like that, I just want to send my condolences to his family. May he rest in peace. It is horrific to wake up and read that. It's tragic, and condolences as well to Sabrina Perez and Sky Nicholson as well. It's not nice for her having to go through, and she obviously would have seen it at ringside as well. So condolences go out to the family of Diego Arua. May he rest. Alright, so Luis Alberto Lopez beat Johnny Gonzalez on Friday night. Now, the scorecards were a little bit too wide. I mean, there was a 118-110 scorecard in there. That was way too wide for my liking. It was not that wide of a fight. I said in midweek report that Luis Alberto Lopez will win that fight on a 12-round unanimous decision. And he went and he won it on a 12-round unanimous decision. Not saying that, Nostradamus or anything like that, but just because Gonzalez is very tough, very durable. He's not the best at 126 pounds, far from it, but he's not the worst either. He's just thereabouts, just a fringe contender, but very tough. Been the rounds with Shakur Stevenson. He also went the distance with Navarrete, which takes some doing because Navarrete, that guy don't play around. So I always knew that would be a long, drawn-out affair for Luis Alberto Lopez. That's now 3 fights in a year. At a decent level, it has to be said. He obviously was mandatory for Josh Warrington, beat Josh Warrington. And just to interject, Lopez, the first time I seen him was, I think it was the end of 21 against Isaac Lowe. And in that fight, how would I describe it? Yeah, I expected Alberto Lopez to win because Lowe was garbage. But I didn't expect Lowe to have as much success as he did. And I kind of looked at that and thought, oh, you're going to need to make improvements if you're going to get to world level. Well, he's made them improvements and then some. He really has. Very impressed with what I've been seeing from Luis Alberto Lopez. And obviously, the main talking point now is Luis Alberto Lopez, Robeisy Ramirez. That would be unification, IBF and WBO. The winner may end up getting a crack at Naoya Inoue, because obviously Naoya Inoue is scheduled to compete for Undisputed at the end of the year. I think early December is the date we're kind of tentatively hearing. So that would mean that he'd have cleaned out, well, not cleaned out necessarily, but Undisputed at 122 pounds in record time, not even 6 months. Literally not even 6 months, just boom, done, see you later. And then that gives him, well, incentive really, because what else do you want to do? Would it Undisputed to go to 126 pounds, which obviously the winner of that would probably go to Japan to fight Inoue, because he makes money, big money in Japan. He brings money to Japan, does big viewing figures in Japan. Naoya Inoue in Japan is a bit like what Joshua was in the UK in 2017, 2018. That is because Joshua had such a level of superstardom, the viewers he was pulling in, the stadiums, and obviously Inoue is not doing stadiums, he's doing arenas, but I'm sure he probably could do a stadium if he wanted. He's a massive star over in Japan. So I would imagine that the winner of Ramirez versus Lopez, I'd be siding with Robeisy Ramirez, to be honest with you, in that fight, would be heading over to Japan. In terms of last night and the fights that happened last night, obviously William Zepeda, he had a run out last night. He fought a guy, I don't actually have his box rec up now, but I think it was Mauricio Esta. I watched the fight earlier today now, and William Zepeda is fun. That guy is fun to watch. He just doesn't stop throwing punches. I mean, this guy, his gas tank is phenomenal, and the atmosphere in that, it was a smallish arena, it was in California, but it had a good atmosphere. It was people cheering, they were singing, it looked really good, it looked like a really fun show, I have to say. That was a Golden Boy show. And, Golden Boy, Their roster is quite thin of talent. You know, you've got Zepeda, you have Garcia, but do you really? What's going on there? And then you have Virgil Ortiz, who is a good fighter, but we don't know how good he's going to be because he's had some serious, like really serious issues between making weight and kidneys and stuff like that. Really serious. So I like Virgil Ortiz, but God knows what he's going to be like. And that's kind of really. I'm trying to think who else they have. I'm sure maybe my mind is. Well, you've Zerdo, I suppose, but you know that Bivol loss. I don't know. I think that's. Whatever star power you might have had with him there is kind of fading a little bit. But with Zepeda, holy God, that guy throws a lot of punches. I mean, I think it was the second round he threw 120 punches or thereabouts. It's crazy the amount of work rate this guy has. And he just doesn't stop it. You know, this guy, the pace he starts these fights out with, you do kind of think, like, with the way, you're like, he could probably do that for the full 12-round duration. This guy is relentless. So William Zepeda, and it was a 6-round stoppage. Referee jumped in, stopped the fight towards the middle part of the 6th round. It was a good win. Not really a good win, I should say. That's the wrong word. But a good performance, workmanlike performance. And we get to see what William Zepeda does next. Now, they were the main fights we're going to talk about. In terms of some of the news, this was confirmed on the 15th of February by the British Boxing Board of Control. This was on IBO Boxing News. They said that the British heavyweight title will not be on the line for Fabio Wardley versus David Adeleye when they meet on October 28th. The board will consider the status of the title following the result of Fabio Wardley versus David Adeleye. Now, I have to say, I'm not surprised they've done that. To be 100% honest, it should come as no surprise, really. I kind of was, when the fight was announced first, I was like, oh yeah, British title. Then I was like, hang on a minute, wait a minute, it's in Saudi. I was like, can the board have the title? Like, can you fight for a British title in a different country? Because I know for the European title, you know, you're not going to fight for and I mean the EBU, you're not going to fight for the EBU in California or Nevada. You know, you're just not going to, it's not going to happen. But I was kind of like, with obviously, and I know, for those asking, I know obviously, like, Saudi Arabia is not in Europe, it's in the Middle East. And I know it's obviously not an EBU fight, but I was kind of like, could the British boxing board? No, obviously not. So there's no British title on the line. I did kind of be like, I would have liked to have seen them go for the British title because it's a good title to win. But at the end of the day, someone rightfully, and they're right, they pointed out in the comments, what would you do if you were in that situation? Fight for British Boxing Board of Control where you could make, and look, British level, certainly at heavyweight, you're making good money at British level. Like, you're not going to starve at British level, certainly not. You know, even at some of the other divisions, you know, they make decent. They're not millionaires or anything like that. But British level, if you're good enough, you're making okay purses. You know, reasonably speaking, you probably wouldn't have to work, right? Probably if you had some sponsors backing you. You could fight at British level, or you don't fight for a British title, but you make an absolute rake of money over in Saudi. It is a bit of a no-brainer, and you're still going to fight for them anyway. God knows what they'll do with the title after. So that's an update on the British title. It won't be on the line. But I'm still looking forward to Wardley versus Adeleye. I think that's going to be a good fight. Like, I've not really, as many of you will know, I haven't really been singing either man's praises. Not that how would I describe it? I don't rate them as highly as some others do. Like, I know Hatman tends to rate Adeleye quite highly. I know he feels that it was a legit win, that he legitimately beat Kamil Sakalovsky. I don't feel that personally. I think that, no, Sakalovsky was pretty hard done by on that show. I'm not going to lie. I felt that he won it, and Sakalovsky, that's the journeyman for you, you know. And I've got a lot of respect for Sakalovsky, that he is someone who was always in shape, always came to fight, and there is losses on there that really shouldn't be losses, you know. And I feel as though that right there is one of them. I thought he beat Adeleye. Having said that, I've looked at Fabio Wardley and I've just been like, you know, like, just kind of waiting for. He's definitely ferocious, you know. I mean, ferocious would be a good nickname for Fabio Wardley because he is. But I've still not really. He's definitely got the killer instinct. You can definitely say that. But I've not really seen anything that jumps out at me with him either, you know. So I'm looking at both these guys and I'm like, okay, they're at a similar level, right? They're at a similar stage in their career. They're young, they're inexperienced, and certainly with Wardley, he's very inexperienced. He only did a couple of white collar fights. So this could make for a very good scrap. A very good scrap. Who do I think is better of the two? So if you say who do I think ceiling is higher, I would say David Adelaye's ceiling is a little bit higher, in my opinion, than Fabio Wardley's. Just a bit. So for that reason, I'll be making Adeleye a favourite. Right? I would be making him favourite. I would personally. So that's who I'll be going with. I'm looking forward to it nonetheless because, I think it's going to be an entertaining fight. I really do. So let's see. I wonder will they do that co-main. They do a co-main. I also seen a rumour about the co-main here. Now, this is coming from Don King, right? So this right here, what he's saying here, is going to have as much holes in it as Swiss cheese, right? Just bear that in mind. But obviously, we've seen Adrian Broner last week making a video of him, just coming across as just a pest, in McDonald's, just being Adrian Broner. Just being Adrian Broner, simple as. But apparently he's going to return on November the 4th in Miami. Don King has said that Ilunga Makabu versus Noel Malikian. I know who that is. That's the guy who fought Myris Bradis a couple of years ago. Some people actually felt that he beat Myris Bradis. That's going to be on the undercard. Apparently, that's going to be for the vacant WBC Cruiserweight World title that Badu Jack has now vacated. Apparently, I haven't heard anything about Badu Jack vacating. So if someone wants to confirm, now look, maybe he did. I don't think I follow Badu Jack on any social media platforms like Twitter or anything like that. So maybe he has. I don't know. But why would he vacate it? Is he retiring? It seems strange to me. And if Don King has managed to somehow get that obviously shows how much clout he still does have with WBC, if that is the case, to get Ilunga Makabu, who's just lost. Now, I know... Wait a minute, was Badu Jack... I think Badu Jack was his mandatory, if I'm not mistaken. I think he might have been. But still, why is he getting an immediate crack? But this is Don King, His cards over the last few years have been a complete joke. They really have. They've been actually laughable. They've been that bad. And, it's Don King. If Don King came... If Don King said to me, right, it's raining outside, you're going to need an umbrella, I'm going out in my shorts to sunbathe. That's Don King. Simple as. Now, Bob Arum was interviewed by Sky Sports yesterday, right? And he said, on Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, it won't be hard to make. I think that fight's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Probably early next year, but it could happen as early as December. Bob, I hope you're telling the truth, and I hope you're right. I seriously do. Please, Bob Arum, because Bob Arum, how would I describe it? Bob Arum is obviously batting for Team Fury. He is, right? He co-promotes Fury. But Bob Arum and Top Rank have a brilliant stable of fighters. They've got fighters up and coming, a lot of good up and coming fighters. And Bob Arum he's got other fighters there. And he's not solely relying on Tyson Fury and Top Rank. Frank Warren is relying on Tyson Fury pretty much to keep Queensbury's head above water. There really is. Yes, Frank Warren has some good fighters there. He's got some very entertaining fighters like Nicky Ball. He's got some potential superstars for the future. Young Moses Atelma comes to mind. But none of them are going to generate the money that Fury can. So, and obviously Frank Warren knows that. That's why he's obviously going to bat for Tyson Fury. Whereas Bob Arum, yeah, he bats for Tyson Fury. Of course he does. But he does business with other people. He's not exclusively just dealing with, Tyson Fury and that's it. So for him, you tend to get a little bit... But I don't trust Bob Arum the slightest, He's in his 90s, but his history is well known. But I tend to kind of think that when he says things, I take it with a little bit more, okay, maybe. If it's Frank Warren, it's like... But with Bob Arum, it's like, okay, maybe. Now, he's saying December. I think that's very optimistic. It would depend on how Fury and Ngannou goes. I don't think it's going to go particularly hard for Tyson Fury, but Maybe he sees the Ngannou fight as a kind of a warm up, a bit of a fun kind of getting into the ring mode, and then December we're good to go. I'd love that. Look, you know me, I want to see Undisputed happen next. But look, Tyson Fury even said last week that he's no intention of that fight, that he wants the big paydays. So it's not exactly filling me with confidence. And just to go one step further on this, Tyson Fury has been given carte blanche by the WBC. He's been given carte blanche by the WBC to do whatever the hell he wants, because Mauricio Sullivan said, this was on the Daily Mail, and he said, I love the event. He's talking about Fury and Ngannou. Those crossover events are giving the sport respect and doing it within the rules. Conor McGregor against Floyd Mayweather was a huge event, and so will this. We are fine, respectful, and supporting our champion. With no mandatory contenders, the decision to fight Ngannou for the time has left some fans frustrated, but Sullivan insists that there is no hurry to find a mandatory for Tyson Fury. If you force the mandatory just for the sake of it, you're doing a disservice to the sport. We will not be rushing up a mandatory contender. You've done that before with other fighters. It is remarkable to watch the WBC and watch just how they treat certain fighters, the fighters that they like, the fighters that maybe their promoter they have a good affiliation with, and then you've other fighters, for whatever reason, they're just like, don't care. Yeah, you're our champion, but we don't give a damn. And he says, like, we don't just chuck mandatories up. Yes, you do. You've done it for other champions. You've literally done it for other fighters who are the WBC champions. Artur Beterbiev in 2021 got a mandatory put on him. Marcus Brown, right? That was a WBC mandatory, okay? Marcus Brown hadn't fought a WBC sanctioned bout in years. He'd only had one win since 2019, which was a 10-rounder up at it was actually 180 something pounds, I think both guys weighed. So it was over the light heavyweight limit. There was no title on the line. It was a run out, and then like that, you name him as mandatory, and you get Artur Beterbiev to fight him. So you literally say you just done it. You've literally just done it. You got Matthew Hatton, right, who was a welterweight, to fight Canelo for the vacant WBC 154-pound title all those years ago. You've literally just done these things. You bend the rules to suit yourself whenever it suits you, right? If there's a fighter that you don't like for whatever reason, I don't say don't like, but don't maybe care for, he doesn't make money, he's just kind of does his own thing. It's like, no, we're doing this. With Tyson Fury, I don't want to. You don't have to. Charlo doesn't fight anyone and it doesn't look like he's going to be fighting anyone anytime soon. It's fine. The mandatories, do you know what, right? The WBC, this is how bad the WBC really are when you think about it, when it comes to mandatory, especially a heavyweight, okay? Deontay Wilder was mandatory challenger for Bermane Stiverne. He beat Malik Scott to get that right. That mandatory was enforced January 2015. Right, Deontay Wilder didn't fight a mandatory until November 2017, and it was Bermane Stiverne who was the mandatory, who'd only fought once in the immediate time against Eric Rossi, a journeyman. He'd fought no eliminators, barely no eliminators at all, right, and that was how he was able to become mandatory challenger. Nearly 3 years, because he won it in January 2015. It was November 2017. When he finally fought a mandatory. Nearly 3 years, right? On the undercard of Deontay Wilder versus Bermane Stiverne 2, Dominic Breazeale fought Eric Molina in a final eliminator, which was only a final eliminator for Dominic Breazeale. Make that make sense, please. And then he didn't get that mandatory called until 2019. So Deontay Wilder has been champion from January 2015 to June of 2019. During that point, he's at 4 years, he's had 2 mandatories. 2. The next time the WBC would officially call a mandatory, not an ordered rematch, there's a difference, right? Obviously Tyson Fury was contractually, they had the rematch ordered, but that's not a mandatory, right? Dylan White was the next mandatory nearly 3 years later. A mandatory once every basically 3 years with the WBC? That's BS. And that's literally it. And now it's likely it's going to be sometime next year, maybe even later than that. So it's going to be another. Is it literally going to be a case of, in some divisions, we're going to have to wait 2 to 3 years? Why would anyone want to even be ranked by WBC? Because you'd be like, well, if I even get made mandatory, how long is it going to be before I actually get that fight? You know, that's nearly a decade. Right, we're going into 2024. That's nearly a decade. And they've had 3 mandatories. Unbelievable. It really is. That's unbelievable from the WBC. And again, I say, like, that's with certain champions. With other champions, it's like, you know, oh, you can't have an interim fight. You can't do this. You've got to fight this mandatory, and then with another mandatory waiting in the wings. But then for other divisions, it's just like, do what you want. It's unbelievable. It really is. They really are shocking. But that's the WBC for you. I don't know. Anyway, that's a bit of a rant there. So, what else are we talking about? So, Manuel Navarrete in talks to defend his WBO super featherweight world title against Robson Conceição. That'll be on the undercard. Shakur Stevens versus Edwin De Los Santos. Always look forward to watching Emmanuel Navarrete. That will be no different. I hope to God that it's going to be a good fight. In terms of fights that we have coming this week, and this fight has come around really, really, really quickly. Really, really quickly. But I'm happy about it because I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm not going to give a prediction in this video. We'll have a quick look-see at the undercard, because I think this card by Queensberry standards ain't too bad, actually. Which is obviously Joe Joyce versus Zhilei Zhang, the rematch. In one sense, I got to give Joyce credit. You know, it only happened less than 6 months ago, April, and he's already jumping straight back into a rematch. Pierce O'Leary on the undercard. Pierce O'Leary is from, I was thinking, is he from Dublin? No, he is. I knew he's Irish, but I wasn't sure where he was from. But Pierce O'Leary's been an interesting look. He's fighting Keane Gardner. Is that that's a different, I was thinking of someone else there. So he's on the undercard. Yard. Well, Anthony Yard was meant to be fighting Ricky Summers, but judging by BoxRec, he's not fighting Ricky Summers. He's fighting Frank Warren's old and trusted to be confirmed. You know, Frank Warren's go-to guy. You know, that's who Frank Warren jumps at. To be confirmed. Always. So, yeah, if it's TBA now, a week before the fight, he's literally going to be fighting a cream puff. Sam Noakes, who's been interesting. He's fighting Carlos Perez. Sam Noakes is a big puncher. So, again, this undercard's not bad. Zach Parker is making his return to the ring. I don't believe he's fought since he quit against John Ryder. No, he hasn't. So, it's going to see how he's going to go there. Young Moses Atelma on the undercard. Who is he fighting? Who is this guy? Let's see. Amy Boschetta, 31 years old, from Belgium. Nickname is the Beast. Okay, 7-8 with no knockouts, and he's been stopped once. Who has he been stopped by? Was it very early in his career? No, it was against Arthur Mann. Arthur Mann, the light heavyweight. Is that Arthur Mann, the light heavyweight? No. Or was he ever light heavyweight? I was thinking of someone else. No, this was a former cruiserweight. Yeah, he got stopped in 3 rounds by Briadis. Got stopped by Kevin Lorena. Lost the decision to Tashenko. Yevgeny Tashenko, 2021. Remember, he got completely schooled by Tbiso Machun. Schooled. That was a proper schooling. Have you ever seen that fight? Who else has he been in there with? He's been in there with Tommy Welch. I don't really recognise the losses. There's not any of the names. I recognise Arthur Mann, alright. Scott Forrest, can't say that name rings a bell. Who the hell is he? From Johannesburg, but he lives in Edinburgh. Can't say it rings a bell. That's who Moses Atelma was in there with next. Let's see. What they're doing with Moses Atelma is they're getting him guys that are durable. And he fought that guy, the Ukrainian, whose name escapes me, and went the distance with him. Looked fine doing it. You know, nothing to worry about. The guy was durable, very durable. Never been stopped before. Moses Atelma couldn't stop him, but he looked good doing it. And then that same guy goes in with Matty Harris and stops Matty Harris in 5 rounds. So, and Moses Atelma is only 18 years old. I think Matty Harris is about 24, 25. So, you know, young Moses Atelma, they're not mentioning the Mike Tyson record anymore. I think they've realised that, look, it sounds nice. It's a nice little marketing gimmick. But, and I wonder if Frank Warren has taken a minute and just thought, you know what, we kind of didn't do Dubois the way we really should have, in terms of matchmaking and stuff. I don't know, maybe there was ever anything you could really have done with Dubois, but I think they brought him along, maybe not exactly the perfect way. Maybe the step-ups were just too much of a big step-up from Nathan Gorman to Joe Joyce. And maybe he's thinking, okay, with Moses Telma, it's a different character. He's definitely more... I've met Moses Telma, very nice kid, very confident, wise beyond his years, even to speak to him. There's a... he doesn't look 18, I tell you, he doesn't look 18. But he doesn't come across as a typical 18-year-old. He's a very mature, confident demeanour, very nice young lad. He really is, very nice young lad. And I think with Warren, he's thinking, okay, we've got something here. Rather than try and do it for marketing, go for Mike Tyson's record. And I would have liked to have seen it, but obviously I get, fighter development is more important than just going for a record for the sake of it if you don't have to. So I think with him, he's I sing his praises. He's a very talented fighter. Very talented fighter is Moses Telma. Looking forward to seeing how he's progressing. I like, as I said, the fact that he's in with durable guys that are taking him rounds, because at the end of the day, right, if you're someone who has talent like a Telma, give him guys who are going to fight back. Give him guys who will make you think and make you work. If you give him guys who are just going to fall over at the first sign of trouble, maybe if you've not had an extended amateur background, you need them type of fights. But if you're... And I know with Telma, he only had like 24 amateur fights because he turned over so young. But I think that he's been in the gyms, like sparring top pros since the age of 15, for God's sakes. Lawrence Okoli and all those. So I think you can take him further than, say, an amateur who's turned over maybe 3 fights and he's 22 and he's not really got an idea what he's doing. Yeah, bring him along slow in terms of fighting cream puffs. But you can... durable journeyman, there's no problem there. So I think that's good what they're doing with him. In terms of everything else, I think that is it. Hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. I'm going to try and do a live for you guys tomorrow, hopefully about 7:30 tomorrow. We'll obviously do a little preview of Joe Joyce versus Zhilei Zhang 2. That's going to be a fun prediction video. I'm looking forward to that. In terms of everything else, I hope you all have a great weekend, or had a great weekend, and have a great week. Hope some good news comes for someone on the other... Well, someone listening. I always say that. I hope the phone rings with good news, myself included. I've no doubt that it will for someone anyway. I hope it does. Let me know if it does. Other than that, hope you all have a great week. Smash the like button on the way in or on the way out. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. We want to get to 13k as quick as we can. We're not a million miles there. Less than 250 subs from 13k. Love to hit it by the time my birthday's the end of the month. Love to hit it by then. Hopefully. For now, I'll leave it there. Peace.